Hi, everybody. My name is Allison Curran, and a little bit about me. I graduated from Millersville with my Bachelor's of Science in Education in Biology in 2023. During my time there, I could not have been more in love. I worked for new student programs and admissions as an orientation leader, an orientation planning committee member, and also a tour guide. And everything about Millersville was just a wonderful experience, so I decided to come back for my master's. So I'm a part of the ACTE master's program with the integrative STEM concentration. Um, this is really exciting for me because I am a biology and anatomy teacher, and we're moving to new standards starting this year. So, this integrative STEM view of things is really, really important, and I've already taken a lot of classes about it that have really helped kind of strengthen my identity in that way. So I'm in my second year, my third year teaching total, but my second year at Upper Dublin High School, where, like I said, I teach ninth grade biology and 11th and 12th grade anatomy and physiology. And I'm also one of the girls lacrosse coaches. So in my free time, I enjoy golfing. Did lots of that this summer. I enjoy snowboarding when the weather is right, and also listening to music and reading. Although I'm sure a lot of you can relate, most of my reading is academic reading, but I try to get in some pleasure reading as well. So, my experience with online learning, my student experience started in spring 2020 when we went online at Millersville. So, I was a freshman in college when the pandemic hit, and we all kind of jumped online. It was super abrupt, but they handled it really well. So, from spring 2020 to spring 2021, so the end of my freshman year and my entire sophomore year, we were online on D2L. So that means I took a zoology lab, a biochemistry lab, a cellular molecular biology lab all online. My first placement that I was supposed to have my sophomore year with the BSc degree did not happen. We instead watched videos of teachers online. Um, so that was kind of the start of my experience. Fall 2021 to spring 2022, I had a hybrid course here or there. Most of my classes at this point were now face to face. However, having been online for those 2 years, the integration was much heavier of technology. We were using D2L constantly, and it was like the main point of contact for virtually everything, especially because a lot of professors now already had online materials made. And then summer 2025 to now, I am in this program. So the more experience you have, the deeper your knowledge is. So I think that with anything, the more that you experience something, the more you're going to be able to replicate that to somebody. And that's exactly the same thing with online teaching. The quote that kind of stood out to me was the foundation to teach our own courses and providing us with student perspective. So it's all about that kind of putting yourself in your students' shoes. In order to effectively teach them online, you need to understand what that feels like. And you need to understand what certain experiences of online learning feel like so that you can replicate an authentic learning environment back to them. So, teacher experience, I have not taught an online course. I haven't even taught a hybrid class. However, technology has been deeply integrated into my 2 years of teaching and year of student teaching. Online tools, learning management systems, programs, they have been the backbone of a lot of things. And since the pandemic, now there's almost a heavier reliance. So I definitely still see a lot of experience coming from being a teacher as well. Online learning skills. So the ones that I have put in already developed were content and subject area knowledge. So this would be my biology and anatomy knowledge. Technology skills. Even though I haven't had a lot of experience online teaching growing up, I'm currently 24. So I did grow up kind of as technology was growing up, and that gives me an edge for sure. Dedication, motivation, that doesn't worry me. I'm always feeling very dedicated and motivated to help my students learn, um, and help them develop into good learners. Flexibility. That's kind of where this quote stood out to me. A teacher may also need to change her lesson design or supplement instruction in order to suit the individual needs of students. So that, I think, goes with any teaching at all. That idea of having to kind of strive away from a whole group instruction because that may not fit everybody's needs, but instead be flexible enough to see where a student needs extra supports and build on that. And then organization and patience, two more things that I feel I have developed already. The two that I said I needed development were online communication skills, simply because I have not taught an online class. So I think that communicating through a virtual setting, while I've done it as a student, I think through a teacher perspective, and so kind of maintaining that sense of community, that's something where I would need to work on. And then passion. And this is not because I don't have a passion for teaching. However, the section about passion had a quote that said, "It was difficult to connect with online students, and teachers needed to make repeated efforts, especially to reach non traditional students." And that kind of like pinged out to me because community building is a huge thing for me. Relationship building, community, that is the backbone in which my classroom stands on. And so I do feel like that passion there would be hindered in an online setting, and it would be something that I would need to work on. So, the qualities of an effective online teacher from the National Standards for Quality Online Teaching. So, the ones that were kind of both online and face to face, first, professional responsibilities. So, demonstrating professional responsibilities, keeping best practices. Those are all things that are going to be required either way. Community building. So, facilitating interactions and collaboration to build a supportive community that fosters active learners. Again, whether you're online or face to face, this might look a little bit different. However, that's still an important quality to have. Learner engagement, promoting learner success through interactions with learners and by facilitating learner engagement. So, this is where some can be online specific. So, the text mentioned using some digital tools to track engagement patterns, which is a really interesting piece that a face to face class would not have, getting that actual obtainable tangible data from an engagement tool. However, in a real class, you are watching the students engage. So there is kind of that give and take. Diverse instruction, personalizing instruction for different learners' needs, assessment and measurement, creating and implementing assessments in a variety of ways and tracking that progress. Again, online, that's going to look a little different because you have measurements of that. However, there are still ways to obtain data in a face to face setting. And then instructional design, curating and creating materials, tools, and strategies to engage learners. The ones that are more online specific would be digital pedagogy. So supports learning and facilitates presence with digital pedagogy. So online tools, helping troubleshoot, things like that. And then digital citizenship, modeling, guiding, and encouraging legal, ethical, and safe behavior with technology. So those two are going to kind of only apply to an online setting. The one that I think I would have the most difficulty with would be community building and learner engagement. This kind of ties into what I said earlier, and you'll see me kind of touch on this again, that community is a huge thing for me and relationship building. And so, as an online student, I found it to be very difficult to feel a part of a community as a teacher. And like we touched on earlier, prior experience is where you're going to kind of find who you are as a teacher. And this is something that would be hard to be effective in an online setting. It's vital, as the text states, to establish relationships through timely and encouraging communication in order to reach these qualities. And so that would take some extra effort in an online setting. And then the challenges of an online teacher. The one that stuck out to me the most, that would be a biggest challenge for me, would be student issues. So again, student engagement and effort. The quotes from the people that participated in the survey. So this one says pretty much the same as face-to-face students. Some students self-motivated to get work in, some you have to track and remind, and some give up even when they obviously can do the work. I actually disagree with this quote when it says pretty much the same as face to face students. I would argue that it's harder because, yes, while those qualities might still exist, many students are now going to use AI or other sources to use their work, and it's a lot harder to monitor this. So the student that actually does not care and has very low effort and engagement might appear in an online setting as if they have great engagement because they're turning in these fantastic discussion posts. Um, then you have the whole sense that staring at a screen can be disheartening, can lead to disengagement, a lack of motivation. Students who are struggling might feel like they can't ask for help um, because they don't feel necessarily related to you. And that brings us to the community building sense, where sometimes it's frustrating not knowing what is going on with the students' personal lives. This limits your understanding of their needs. Again, relationship building is huge for me. I find it very important to get to know your students on a personal level. And that leads to motivation when they feel like they can trust you and rely on you and like you're just a human being like them and not someone up there barking rules at them. That's when they feel like they can engage. Um, but all in all, I am excited to kind of take a look at all of these things in a deeper lens and learn how to go against my challenges and learn from them and be a better teacher. Thank you.